The phone felt cold in my hand, a stark contrast to the usual pre-holiday warmth I craved, despite all our history. Thanksgiving, just weeks away, suddenly felt miles distant, like a mirage shimmering just out of reach. I'd always hoped, despite everything, for those familiar family moments, the scent of turkey and cinnamon filling their house. My mother, Carol, started the call sounding almost cheerful, a sugar-sweet coating over something bitter I couldn't yet place. But the chill following her slight pause told me everything was about to shatter. "Honey," she'd chirped, "about Thanksgiving this year. We need to talk." My initial hope flared, then died as she continued. "We're doing things differently, smaller, just adults, you know, more intimate." My brow furrowed. "Oh, so no kids at all?" A hesitation, long enough to send ice through my veins. "Well, not exactly." A cold, hard knot twisted deep in my stomach. "What do you mean, Mom?" Then came the unbelievable blow, delivered with a sigh as if I were inconveniencing her. My precious children, 7-year-old Mia and 4-year-old Leo, weren't welcome because they were too energetic. But my brother Stephen's boys? Oh, they were welcome. "They're just quieter, more refined, Chloe. It's easier," Carol explained, the words like tiny daggers. The unfairness, the blatant, unapologetic favoritism hit me like a physical slap, stealing my breath. My children weren't good enough for their own grandparents' table. Quieter. Refined? The words echoed mockingly in my head. My kids weren't porcelain dolls. They were living, breathing children full of laughter and, yes, energy. But unwelcome? Heat flooded my face. "What about Stephen's boys?" I pressed, my voice tight, gripping the kitchen counter until my knuckles turned white. Carol hesitated, and in that split second, I knew. "Well, they're coming, of course," she finally admitted, "but they're just different." Different meant better in her eyes, always. "I can't believe this," I whispered, the floor seeming to tilt beneath my feet. "You're actually telling me my children, your grandchildren, aren't welcome, but his are?" Her irritation spiked. "Oh, Chloe, don't be so dramatic. It's just one dinner. You and Mark are still invited, naturally." The sheer absurdity almost made me laugh. They wanted me, but not the two little people who were my entire world. Swallowing hard against the lump in my throat, I found my voice colder than I intended. "No, Mom. If my kids aren't welcome, then neither are we." A long, brittle silence stretched between us before she exhaled sharply as if I were the unreasonable one. "Suit yourself." Click. Just like that, she was gone. I stared at the dead phone, trembling, the silence. Heavy. Later, a text pinged. Stephen. "Mom said you're being difficult about Thanksgiving. Why do you always have to make everything so dramatic?" Of course, the golden child, reporting for duty, reinforcing their narrative. The line hadn't just been drawn, they'd carved it deep. The silence after Stephen's text wasn't empty. It was filled with a cold, hard resolution crystallizing inside me. I wouldn't apologize. I wouldn't beg for their approval. Not anymore. For years, I'd bent over backwards, being the good daughter, the reliable one they called for every little thing. Need groceries picked up because it looked like rain? Call Chloe. Wi-Fi on the fritz again? Chloe would drive the 30 miles over to fix it without complaint. Planning a family gathering? Chloe got stuck with the endless calls, the errands, the invisible labor, while Stephen floated in, reaping praise for just showing up on time. But if my children weren't good enough for their precious, peaceful Thanksgiving, Then I wasn't good enough to be their free tech support or personal assistant anymore. The boundary was drawn, not by me initially, but by them. I was just choosing to finally respect it from my side. So, when Dad, George, called that weekend, his caller ID flashing on my screen, presumably needing help setting up his new 60-inch flat screen, I let it ring. Straight to voicemail. When Mom, Carol, texted a few days later, asking if I could swing by the pharmacy for her prescription refill, a 10-mile detour for me, I saw the notification pop up and left it pointedly unread. It felt strange, almost rebellious, after a lifetime of immediate responses. But beneath the unease, it also felt undeniably right. They had made their choice. Now, I was making mine. This wasn't just about Thanksgiving, it was about everything. Thanksgiving morning dawned differently this year. Instead of frantic dressing, forced smiles, and the usual tight knot of anxiety in my stomach about navigating my parents' house, our own home felt like a sanctuary. The air smelled gloriously of pancakes and maple syrup, not impending judgment. Mia and Leo, dusted in flour, were giggling hysterically as Mark flipped pancakes with theatrical flair. For the first time in years, I felt truly, deeply peaceful. Then, inevitably, my phone shattered the calm. Mom. I ignored it. It rang again immediately. And again. Mark shot me a worried look. Want me to turn it off? I hesitated, then shook my head. No, just in case it's a real emergency. I swiped to answer, keeping my voice level, devoid of warmth. What is it, Mom? Her voice, sharp and accusatory, cut through the line. Oh, now you pick up? I suppose you're just sitting there sulking while we're all trying to have a nice dinner. I sighed, pinching the bridge of my nose. If you called to gloat, That's not why I called. She snapped. I need to ask you something. Here it comes, I thought. More guilt? What now? Did you cancel the credit card? The question hung in the air, cold and confusing. I turned away from Mark, lowering my voice. What are you talking about? Your father's credit card, the one we use for groceries, gas, essentials. It was declined this morning. A slow, sickening realization began to crawl up my spine. It wasn't his card she meant. It was mine. My blood ran cold. You mean, my credit card? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Years ago, when Dad, George, was recovering from surgery and money was tight, I'd added them as authorized users, a temporary lifeline I'd honestly forgotten about in the chaos of raising Mia and Leo. They certainly never reminded me. A pause. Then Carol scoffed. Oh, don't be so dramatic, Chloe. It's just a card. You make good money, and we figured... My voice started shaking. You figured what? That you could just keep leeching off me indefinitely, that I wouldn't notice or care. Her defensiveness flared. Don't act like this is some huge betrayal. We raised you. The least you could do is support us now. I inhaled sharply, the sheer audacity stealing my breath. Are you serious? After telling me my own children weren't good enough for your Thanksgiving table, you still expected me to keep paying for your groceries? Are you even hearing yourself? She let out a long, theatrical sigh, the martyr complex in full swing. You know, Chloe, this is exactly why we don't like having difficult conversations with you. You always overreact. Overreact? I was done. You're right about one thing, I said, my voice dangerously calm, chillingly steady. I did cancel the card, and since we're being so honest, you won't see another cent from me. Ever. A sharp gasp on her end. No Christmas gifts, no birthday checks, nothing. You made your choice about my kids, now I'm making mine. Silence then, colder than I'd ever heard her. "You'll regret this." And she hung up. For a moment, after that chilling final call, I just stood there, gripping the phone, my fingers aching. Then, slowly, I turned back to Mark, forcing a smile. "Just taking out the trash," I'd said, my voice steadier than I felt. He didn't push. The rest of Thanksgiving was ours, truly ours. Movies, cookies, board games, peace. The silence from my parents stretched through the following weeks. No calls, no texts. I figured they were playing the silent treatment game, expecting me to crumble and come crawling back, begging for forgiveness as I always had before. But something fundamental had shifted inside me. Their approval wasn't the sun my world revolved around anymore. Just when I started to think they might have actually given up, maybe realized they'd pushed too far, they pulled their most desperate stunt yet. It was the week before Christmas when the official-looking envelope arrived. Mark pulled it from the mailbox, his brow furrowing at the sender's address. "It's from your parents," he said, a note of caution in his voice. I took it, my stomach twisting into a familiar knot. Tearing it open, my eyes scanned the formal, legal document inside. My breath caught. They were demanding reimbursement for raising me, for years of emotional and financial support. I let out a short, sharp bark of disbelieving laughter. "You have got to be kidding me." Mark took the letter, his jaw tightening as he read. "They're billing you for your own childhood, food, clothes, school supplies. They're demanding $78,542. It wasn't about money. It was about control, a final, pathetic attempt to pull me back under their thumb. They must be desperate." Mark had scoffed, but I knew it was more calculated than that. This wasn't just desperation. It was pure, vindictive control. "I think it's time I pay them a little visit," I said, my mind already made up. The next day, gripping the ridiculous letter like damning evidence, I drove the familiar route to their perfectly kept house. When Carol opened the door, her face hardened instantly. "Oh, so now you show up." I didn't take the bait. I simply held up the letter. "You seriously thought this would work?" She folded her arms defiantly across her chest. "It's what's fair." A sharp, humorless laugh escaped me. "Fair? You want to charge me $78,000 for raising me while expecting me to foot your bills indefinitely and excluding my children? That's your definition of fair." George appeared behind her, his expression smug. "We sacrificed a lot for you, Chloe." "No, Dad," I countered, meeting his gaze. "You sacrificed me when you made it clear my kids weren't good enough, when you lied and used my money. That's the sacrifice you made." Carol's lips thinned. "If you won't pay, I guess we'll have to involve lawyers." "Go ahead," I said, my voice level. "Take me to court. Explain that logic to a judge." For the first time, they looked uncertain. I ripped the letter neatly in half, letting the pieces fall. Then, on Christmas Eve, after the most peaceful day just with Mark, Mia, and Leo, they appeared on my doorstep, holding a brightly wrapped gift. "Merry Christmas, sweetheart," Carol chirped falsely. "Let's not ruin Christmas." "You already did," I stated flatly, blocking the doorway. "Take your gift and go." With that, I shut the door firmly. I truly thought slamming the door on Christmas Eve might be the final word. I underestimated their tenacity, their sheer refusal to accept defeat. New Year's Eve was supposed to be our fresh start, a night filled with laughter, snacks, and my kids buzzing with excitement about staying up late. Mark was pouring sparkling cider, Mia and Leo were dancing in party hats. It was perfect. Then came the knock, sharp and insistent, instantly dissolving the festive atmosphere. My stomach plummeted. Mark and I exchanged a look. He knew. Taking a deep breath, I opened the door. And there they stood, a united front of manipulation. Mom, Carol, Dad, George, my brother Stephen, and even his wife, Nicole. An ambush. "What do you want?" I asked, crossing my arms, blocking the entrance. Carol pasted on that sickly, sweet smile. "We just want to talk, Chloe." "No thanks." Dad stepped forward, his voice attempting authority. "Chloe, enough. You've made your point. Let's fix this before things go too far." My eyes narrowed. "Too far? What does that even mean?" Carol exchanged a significant glance with Stephen. "We just don't want this to affect the children," she said, a strange undercurrent in her voice making my skin crawl. "What are you talking about?" Stephen, arms crossed like he was the aggrieved party, stepped forward. "Mom and Dad have been talking to a lawyer." A wave of icy dread washed over me. "A lawyer?" I repeated numbly. Carol nodded, her eyes gleaming with faux sympathy. "We're just worried, Chloe. You've cut your children off from their family over a silly misunderstanding. We've been looking into grandparents' rights." For a heart-stopping moment, the only sound was the blood rushing in my ears. Grandparents' rights? After everything? Then a laugh escaped me. Not a small chuckle, but a loud, sharp, unhinged sound that startled even myself. They thought they could legally force their way back into my children's lives after treating them like inconveniences and stealing from me. Stephen's face twisted. "What's so funny?" Wiping phantom tears from my eyes, I met his glare. "Oh, you're serious? You actually think any judge in this state would look at this dumpster fire of a situation? The lies, the financial abuse, the blatant favoritism, the exclusion, and side with you?" Carol's lips pressed into a thin, white line. "We've done nothing wrong." "Nothing wrong?" I echoed, stepping forward slightly, my voice dropping to a dangerously low pitch. "You stole from me. You told me my children weren't welcome in your home. And now, because I finally cut you off from using me as an ATM and an emotional punching bag, you think you can bully your way back in using my kids?" Dad's face darkened. "You don't want to do this, Chloe." "Oh, but I do," I countered, pulling out my phone and holding it up deliberately. "Think very carefully about your next move. Because I have every text, every voicemail, every demand for money, every justification for excluding my kids. Try this pathetic stunt, and I will bury you with it. I will make sure everyone you know sees exactly who you are." Silence. Their faces crumpled. They knew. They had nothing. "Happy New Year," I said sweetly, stepping back and slamming the door shut. They never followed through with the legal threat, of course. They knew they had nothing, just bluster and entitlement. The silence that followed wasn't empty this time. It was filled with a profound, almost unbelievable peace. Weeks turned into months. Spring arrived, painting the world outside my window in bright, hopeful colors. Sitting on the porch, watching Mia and Leo chase bubbles across the lawn, a real, uncomplicated joy settled deep in my bones. Mark handed me a lemonade, his smile mirroring my own relief. "It's been quiet," he observed. "Feels good," I agreed. This wasn't just about surviving a family feud. It was about reclaiming myself. The real message wasn't just about my toxic family. It's about the incredible power of setting boundaries, even when it hurts. It's knowing your worth isn't tied to pleasing people who exploit you. It's about recognizing emotional and financial manipulation for what it is, and refusing to participate. It's choosing your core family, the ones who offer unconditional love, above all else. Breaking free wasn't easy, but the freedom, the quiet authenticity of my life now was worth every difficult conversation, every slammed door. Have you faced similar struggles? Had to draw lines with people you love? Share your story below. Your experience matters. Like and share if this resonated, and follow, subscribe for more stories about navigating life's messy, beautiful truths.